What's going on, you guys? Before we get into today's review, just a reminder that there is going to be a lot of spoilers. If you have not yet played Star Wars Outlaws, I would highly recommend playing the game or checking out a playthrough of the game so you guys get caught up a bit before getting into this review. If you guys don't mind the spoilers in order to make your purchasing decision, enjoy the video. Star Wars Outlaws was the first Star Wars game I ever played. Traveling through the galaxy, fighting through the Empire, and seeing the Star Wars universe was a joy I never knew I needed. Outlaws carries itself in many directions, hoping that multiple groups of people will find its world appealing. This title tries to cater to the FPS players, the story-driven players, as well as the RPG players. While the RPG elements are minimal, they are still there. This game tried to do so much at once that I feel it lost itself in what it was trying to accomplish, making the story fall flat and bringing a repetitive nature to over half of the game, where there was no intrigue but a yearning to know what the goal of the story and thus the game is exactly. What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into my review of Star Wars Outlaws. I never realized how much I wanted to play a game in the Star Wars universe until now. Getting to see the marketplaces on each planet, shooting down stormtroopers, getting to experience characters that are diverse in their writing and add to the overall story in the Star Wars universe. It was a magnificent feeling that for the first and last part of the game captured my imagination and emotions. Now, while it was fun, the feeling of joy was fleeting with every passing chapter, making the game from the moment of Kijimi until the point of no return boring with fetch quests and an overly repetitive nature. Now, I don't mind fetch quests when they're done sparingly, but having them for 80% of the game where you need to retrieve things or save someone made me feel very bored very quickly. Now, on the flip side of things, some of you might like that formula in a game and may also already be longtime Star Wars fans, and if that's the case, then you are going to love this title because the story is canon to the franchise of games and adds on a lot of meat from what I've heard to the franchise. I just wasn't a fan of how overly repetitive the majority of the game was in regards to how the missions were set up. With how the characters were done, it was a completely different story. They held weight, substance, and emotion. And D5 was my favorite because of the anthropomorphic nature of his character. When he's chasing Kay, for example, he mentioned how he doesn't want to have her death on his conscience. Cue the feels. The characters in Outlaws were each so unique in their writing and how they were approached, giving them this undeniable individualism that carried the game more so than the story. Now, the story in this title might be great, but I'm most likely not seeing what makes the story great because I'm not a fan of Star Wars like I was when I was younger. You're probably asking, well, why play a Star Wars game if you're no longer a fan of the franchise? It looked interesting, and I'm always up for trying something new. So while I might not be a fan of Star Wars anymore, I see the importance it holds for so many. So my saying this game has no story is not an objective truth, but simply my perspective, my opinion after finishing the game. On the note of the story, one thing that bothered me was how little Kay's mother was in the game. We get flashbacks and references, but nothing of real substance. So when Kay's mom comes back, I didn't feel how I hoped I would. Happy, excited, you name it. Instead, I felt like it was just another person joining the crew. So let's dive into the way this game played because I am shocked at how this game ran and not in a positive way. I played Star Wars Outlaws on my PS5, so I found it shocking how poorly it ran. With multiple crashes and Kay simply not moving at times, it was really surprising just how bad it ran. And for that reason, I would highly recommend playing it on PC. No, I've not played it on PC myself. I would just recommend it since PC is more customizable than a console. It got to a point where mid cutscenes the game would crash. The screen would just go black. Even when rappelling up a wall, I would get an error on the screen. The game also overall felt very slow at points, and the combat was just a nightmare in certain areas. If you get caught and there were too many stormtroopers, the game would almost kind of catch you in a death loop of sorts where you have to revert to a previous save. Now, when it comes to the controls and maneuvering as Kay throughout the world of Outlaws, I found that there was so much platforming, which I have this kind of love-hate relationship with. If you love platforming, you will, again, love this game because there is a lot of it. And it felt like at times the controls weren't grabbing on to the ledges when they were supposed to, so there were many times that I would just keep trying at a section until Kay grabbed onto the ledge. Now, the stealth was also another big factor in this game. Again, if you like stealth, you are going to like this game, but don't worry if you're not good at stealth like me, because you're not heavily punished if you can't do the stealth correctly. Bringing to life the world of Star Wars is no easy task. The things that this game does well are done with clarity, beauty, and a sense of understanding for the fans who will love this title. Now, for those of you who are fans of Star Wars, I think you will truly enjoy Outlaws. For those of you, like myself, who are diving into this and know it's about Star Wars and that's about it, you are going to have a harder time getting into this game. Not only the lack of direction in terms of how the story flows, but the repetitive nature that the player needs to experience in order to advance in the game made the overall experience for me lackluster until the final few chapters. When I was a Star Wars fan as a kid, my favorite characters were Darth Vader and Darth Maul. Seeing Darth Vader in Outlaws reignited a bit of that childhood excitement, and there was a bit of fangirling, I have to admit. Like, seeing Darth Vader in this game, it made me so happy. Like, it brought me back to my childhood, and that was just, it was wonderful. From the time I spent with this game, Outlaws will be a mixed bag for fans and non-fans of Star Wars. The characters alone are the main reason why I think this game is worth it. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend this game for the story or how it runs on the PS5. If you do get Outlaws, getting it for PC or Xbox will be your best bet. You've heard my experience with Star Wars Outlaws, now go make up your own mind. Enjoy the game for the things that it does well, the beautiful graphics, the stunning characters, and obviously getting to dress up as a stormtrooper. But that's it for me. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. May you find your worth in the waking world, dear hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.